I'm Isabella. So, I wouldn't call myself a gamer. I do enjoy stuff like Splatoon or Hades very casually, but I drop most of these things pretty fast. Most games, especially with visual novels, are really hard for me to get through, and it's not like I think these games are bad. I've just never been huge about gaming. But recently, a little game came out called Date Everything, and man, it really got me. If you haven't heard of Date Everything, it's basically a sandbox dating sim. The twist is that you're dating everything in your house. And I mean everything. The air, your food, dishes, nightmares, the feeling of existential dread itself. There are over 100 characters, all with unique stories and designs. And let me tell you, I am head over heels in love with the art for this game. In the past year or so, I have really taken an interest in sprite art for games, and Date Everything is one of those projects I've come across that would truly be a dream of mine to work on. There's just so much detail and care put into the designs and the game overall. So the game was actually developed by Sassy Chap Games, which is an indie studio started by Ray Chase, Robbie Daymond, and Max Middleman. If those names don't sound familiar, maybe Bruno Bucciarati, Tuxedo Mask, and Saitama ring a bell? All these guys are very skilled and professional voice actors with a ton of work under their belt. So, a studio run by seasoned voice actors making a dating game, you have to assume the voice acting is going to be impressive. And it 100% is. Actors include Laura Bailey, Alex Lee, Damien C. Haas, Felicia Day, Dante Bosco, Sungwon Cho, Johnny Young Bosch, Brennan Lee Mulligan, and so many more. Seriously, just take a scroll down the IMDb page and I bet you'll recognize at least a handful of names. The cast is seriously so amazing, and it's genuinely pretty exciting to see a game with this much talent across the board. If you haven't bought the game, I think you should watch your favorite YouTuber or streamer of choice play it, but I totally recommend checking it out yourself. I had quite a few spoilers going into the game myself, and I still am absolutely hooked. And you're supporting an indie game. When I started playing, I knew I just had to design some characters and make a video about it. The designs are so unique and the gimmick is both fun and accessible. So, I have pulled 3 random objects from a generator, and I will be making all of those into dateables. I figured this would be a fun way to try my hand at the style of the game as well as challenging my design skills. While going over my own art, I will also be talking about smart design choices that the character artists made as well. So, let's get into it! The first object I pulled was a toy boat. Of course, my mind went straight to a captain or sailor. So, I was thinking a lot of blues, whites, teals, yellows, very coastal, very classy. I know the prompt is specifically a toy boat, but I decided to take more inspiration off of a sailboat. I didn't really want to make a cut and dried character in a standard sailor suit, so I skewed a little more on the pirate side, but he's not really a pirate, just a bit of a grizzled fancy man who knows how to sail across the open sea. And I mean, the vibes are giving guys on the front of a romance novel, so I think this idea fits in pretty well. Now, the challenge with designing a character for this game is integrating the original object into the design. Just because I draw a character that is inspired by the item doesn't mean I've hit the nail on the head. I have to put aspects from the object into the character's design. For example, let's look at the character Parker Bradley. Without knowing anything about him, I bet you could guess that he's based off of board games. You can tell from the incredible amount of detail put into his design. From his Monopoly Money hair, his Connect 4 vest, the pile of games he's carrying, and even the tiny little Guess Who pieces on his shoulder, it's pretty easy to tell what object the team was inspired by. Though I think Parker is one of the more obvious designs, so next let's look at this character. While there is less to work with, I think the idea of the object he's based off of comes across well. If you couldn't already guess, he is based off of a mirror. All of his clothes are reflective, looking like they're made out of a shiny silver glass. Also, you may have noticed I haven't told you this character's name yet. Well, his name is Amir. Like a mirror. Every character's name is supposed to be a pun, or at least very similar to the object they're based on. This is another pattern that I will be enforcing in all of my characters. I knew I wanted to incorporate a lot of boat and ocean details into this character. I think I mainly focused on minor details here. This whole process was a bit of a learning curve, and I do think I got better with each character. But still, I think his design rings true to the object he's based off of. Hopefully. I included lots of ropes and sailing knots in his design. The strings of his blouse are actually a real type of knot called a figure 8 double knot. I included some other boat imagery with his belt buckle being a wheel and his earring being an anchor. I even included a little propeller on the heel of his boots. And while this isn't super specific imagery, I wanted his long hair to be constantly blowing in the wind, despite the game taking place inside of a house. I tried to make his blonde curls also resemble waves. There are a few other subtle design choices here and there, like the map pattern on his blouse, but like I said, a lot of his object-based aspects are more minor. Despite this, I still believe this is a good design for my first time making a Date Everything character. And here's the final design. I'm sure you are wondering what his pun-based name is, and I decided on Pierce Sailor. You know, like Pierce, like pier, and sailor. Okay, I'm not the best at making names, but I think it's alright. The next object I randomly pulled was a bracelet. It didn't specify what kind of bracelet, so I decided to base this character off of a human charm bracelet. For some reason, that made my mind go to Gyaru and Decora fashion, because both of these styles have elements of maximalism, and charm bracelets usually have a lot going on as well. So this character is very stylish, very preppy, and very shiny. To be honest, this design of the character is not the first design I came up with. I actually completely designed this character, but something felt off. I felt as though I was focusing more on the fashion influence rather than the object itself. So I restarted, and by the end I was glad I did. Sometimes you do get a better outcome when you cut your losses and redo a piece instead of just throwing in the towel. Because she's based on a charm bracelet, I wanted to incorporate lots of chains and charms. So I took a lot of common charm designs and turned them into little hair accessories. Hair accessories seem to be popular both in Gyaru fashion trends and Decora fashion trends. Plus, I thought it was a creative way to display this aspect without crowding up other areas of the design, which is another aspect that I think is handled well within the designs of the game. The first example I want to talk about is Cam the trash can. Being a trash can, Cam has quite a lot going on between the trash piling up around his jacket, as well as various items of garbage worn by him, such as his plastic bag shirt and banana peel hat. But despite there being a lot of detail, I don't think this design is overwhelming. Your eyes have places to rest, such as the dark trash bag material that his jacket and shorts are made of, as well as his chest, which is just showing his skin. Balancing a lot of detail and trying not to make the design too overwhelming is a difficult task, but I think the designers did very well. The designs are only overwhelming purposefully, like with Holly, who is an overworked, burnt out embodiment of holiday decorations, or Jerry, who is a hoarder and the embodiment of your junk drawer. I thought these decisions made by the team were creative, smart, and thoughtful. Using this design tactic, I made sure to try and give points on this character's design where your eyes could take a break. While she has a lot of accessories, I didn't want to crowd the design with intricate patterns on her clothes. Her palette includes a lot of colors, but I tried to spread them out so I didn't put too much in one area. Overall, I think this worked. There's still a lot going on, but I at least don't feel too overwhelmed when I'm looking at her. Aside from all the gold chains and charms on her character, I included a shiny material on both her puffer jacket as well as her leg warmers. I thought these were nice nods to both the fashion styles I was inspired by as well as the object itself. Her makeup, hair, and long nails were mainly inspired by Gyaru fashion. I had such a fun time looking up inspiration and designing her makeup. I've never seriously designed a character that was interested in Gyaru fashion before, so I found this design both fun and informative. Here's her final design. I decided to name her Lucy Charm. You know, like Lucky Charm. I think she's so cute. Last, I randomly pulled a CD. Now, a CD really isn't much to work off of, so I decided to take inspiration from a portable CD player. I actually had one of these as a kid. I remember listening to One Direction on it. Because of the nostalgia and a lot of the sleek and futuristic designs I saw, I decided to make this character very Y2K, taking lots of inspiration from the aesthetic Fruitager Arrow. I hope I said that right. If you've been online in the past couple years or so, you probably know what this aesthetic is, but Fruitager Arrow is based on late 90s and early 2000s design that included technology surrounded by light, natural elements. I think the most basic and well-known example of this aesthetic is the 2000s Windows XP background, which I didn't realize was an actual place until recently. I don't know why I didn't think it was real. The more you know. Either way, I had a really clear vision for how I wanted this character to look. I wanted them to be techie, but with a color palette of mostly natural colors like blue and green. I wanted this character to be a little more minimalistic than Lucy, but still have aspects that reflected a CD player. I feel like this design is where I truly started to get the hang of making a character for this game. I started to figure out that it wasn't how much I referenced an object, but how I referenced it that made a good design. Like the saying goes, less is more, and the designers of Date Everything definitely knew that as well. For example, let's look at Lady Memoria. She represents your keepsakes and the memories associated with them. Now, while her pattern cape is very intricate and detailed, it's not so detailed that it's screaming in your face. They're subtle, yet still hint back at the object and ideas that she's based on. Mateo is another great example of this. He doesn't have too much going on, but from his clothes and friendly demeanor, you can tell that he's supposed to be a blanket. I think Aaron in art also displays this principle well, but let's just say their designs really embody less is more. I'm unsure if I will be able to show them on YouTube, but you can look them up yourself. Either way, I wanted to use these characters to inspire how I approached my CD character. They noticeably have way less accessories than Lucy, but I tried to use my real estate purposefully. The headphones with the antenna are inspired by your standard boombox CD player, the necklace and shoelaces are wired earbuds, and the tank top has buttons, and the screen display is based off of the CD player that I used as a reference. I also added some see-through elements, such as the green overshirt, glasses, and the straps on the shoes. I was inspired by CD players that have a clear compartment so you can see your CD spin around while your music plays. I also gave them a belt that is composed of CDs. Overall, I really love this design. I think they're my favorite from the bunch. So here is the final design. I named them Casey Disc. It's kind of a multi-layered pun because I thought it would be funny if this character's initials were CD. If this character was in the game, I would definitely be talking to them. And here are all of the final designs together. Overall, I'm really happy with how all of these turned out. I did run into some challenges along the way, but I still thought the end result was successful. Let me know who your favorite from this lineup is. I have to admit, I think Casey is my favorite. I don't know, I think the design is super sleek, but very unique and clear. Also, let me know if you've been into Date Everything as well. I love hearing other people's favorite characters since there's just such a broad range of designs. Similar to Pokemon, I feel like each character is at least someone's favorite. I do have to say, I'm definitely a Volt and Eddie and Daisuke girl. I also get the hype with Hector, but there are seriously so many characters I adore. This video is not sponsored at all, but I highly recommend supporting the team and playing the game. You can totally tell how much love and passion went into this project. Also, maybe the more support they get, the more likely it is for us to get a DLC. Just a thought. It was really fun talking about the character designs for this game too. I would love to make more videos diving deeper into character designs from specific medias, as well as replicating their styles. If that's something that seems interesting, please let me know. Anyways, if you liked this video, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you would like to be up to date with my future uploads. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time!